everyone, so I wanted to talk about in this video something that I haven't really made an entire video about before, and that is talking about the difference between doing art for fun as a hobby and doing art for your career, and if both can exist at the same time, because I ask myself that question a lot, and this will be sort of like a podcasty video, so you can do something else while you watch this or draw or watch me draw. But I wanted to talk about this because lately I've been realizing that I don't actually draw that much. Like I draw a lot, but when I was younger, like I couldn't stop drawing. When I was a beginner artist, I was so excited to draw all the time. I was so excited to improve and to get better, and I was constantly looking at other artists and filling up sketchbooks and doing like Copic illustrations and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like I couldn't really stop myself from drawing. I was just drawing all the time. And it was like that all the way up until I went into art school. And then I was drawing all the time because I had to draw all the time. I want to make a video about art school soon, the pros and cons from my personal experience. But basically, art school turned art from less of a hobby more into like homework. It was school work, and I was definitely glad to be doing it. But art was no longer like a for fun thing. That was like the first time where I had to consistently put out artwork every single day for someone else that wasn't really like my own desire to make art. And I kind of had to do this before. When I was doing my YouTube channel, I needed a drawing each video. I needed to post something each week to have some sort of like art content in my video. But I sort of felt like each piece of art was my own like choosing, and it was still me trying to do it for fun. And there were moments where I really had to force myself to draw and to like get on my sketchbook, okay, let's go. Like there actually was a lot of that, but the whole like dragging my heels, trying to force myself to make art didn't really happen until I was like deep in art school. And when I was like getting so used to doing art all the time, I never really wanted to do it for myself because I was already expending all my creative juices on my assignments. And this wasn't necessarily a bad thing. There is something really fun and rewarding about doing art for yourself and for yourself alone, but I haven't really done this since like starting my artist journey because I've basically put everything online. When I started taking art seriously, that's when I posted my first YouTube video, and I was such a beginner back then. Like I was definitely a beginner artist, and you can see like my whole like evolution. It's all online. So was it ever really for myself? I feel like it was, even at that point. But once I started taking everything more seriously, then art becomes more of a job and less of a hobby. And I part of me enjoys making art for other people, and like if I know I need to do like a Patreon original, like what you see in this video, these are available on Patreon for people who pledge in the original artwork tier. They get one sent to them each month, which is a new tier that I added, and I thought it would be a fun way to let myself do little drawings and make them whatever I want them to be for other people. But they still sort of feel like it's not really myself. I'm not really doing it for myself, I'm doing it for other people. Is this a bad thing? Not necessarily, but a lot of the drawing in art school is stuff that you wouldn't have done on your own, and I just knew like every day I have to draw a lot all day, and it's kind of satisfying to complete art projects for other people and to show it to them, like your professors, and them to go, oh, great job, or oh, work on this, and you fix it and it's better, and you come out with a nice project in the end. There is something satisfying about that, and it's a different feeling from making it for yourself. You sort of get that sense of validation, and all of that is fine if you can get through that process of making the art and then delivering it to wherever it needs to be delivered. And if everything goes well, I honestly do enjoy that process. But it's when things go wrong that you start to sort of like be like, oh, this is such a chore. Like, I wish I could just draw for myself. Like, I don't feel inspired anymore, because if you're expending all your creative energy on your work, you're not going to want to draw in your free time, because it's just going to feel like you're working. I can't really draw for fun. The only time I draw for fun is when I'm playing, like, Jackbox or Gartic Phone, stuff like that. Those are truly, like, for fun drawings, and that's some of my, like, most crude doodles, badly drawn stuff, but it is fun. And I guess the next level of stuff that I draw for myself is just sketching in a sketchbook page, and the kind of pages that I don't share anywhere. But as soon as I get to that level, I'm going to be showing my sketchbook eventually. I do sketchbook tours every time I finish a sketchbook, and I scan them all into Patreon. So even that is connected to my job. And is this a bad thing? I really thought when I was younger that I wouldn't be able to do that I wouldn't be able to, like, force myself to make art, even if I wasn't, like, completely inspired to do it. And the reality is, you're not going to be inspired all the time, but once you get used to making art and, like, churning out projects all the time, it's going to become easier for you, and it becomes, like, a satisfying process if you can, like, nail it down. It's really unsatisfying when you're in art block, or you're uninspired, or you feel like your style is going in a direction that you don't want it to go, or you can't draw this one certain pose, or this client wants you to draw this specific thing and you have no ideas. That's when it starts to become really difficult, and that's when you have to really like put in your self-discipline and try everything to get yourself motivated to draw. It really is hard to enjoy art when you're not enjoying making it. Like, there's nothing more heartbreaking than working on a piece, you really like it, it's turning out really well. You get to the final stage, you start to draw your final illustration, and it just is not working out. There's nothing you can do. You've ruined it. You have to start over. That feeling of defeat is like one of the worst things. It's one of the worst things in terms of art, that like it's one of those really bad feelings you can get as an artist. And if you're also an artist, you'll know exactly what I mean. And basically any other like long-term project, when it just suddenly goes wrong, it's irreversible, you can't fix it, and then you try to redo it and you can't draw and you start to get art block. It's just like the most heartbreaking thing. And I feel like if you're doing that as a hobby, it wouldn't be as heartbreaking because you don't have deadlines to meet, but it still kind of feels bad to have a piece of art not turn out the way that you envisioned. And I really do enjoy having art as my job. It's not my hobby anymore. It is my job. I don't really draw as a hobby. Like, every piece of art I make is for something else, basically. And I don't really have a problem with this. The only thing that I have a problem with is not really feeling that like urgent need to draw and that like need to create. It's more like I have deadlines to meet and that's why I do it. And it's hard to get that like deep passion feeling back for it. I'm still excited about art and I like drawing most of the time. Sometimes it's honestly just like an automatic thing, and that's kind of sad because I'll just be like, oh, okay, I have to draw 3 originals, let's start sketching, and then I just kind of go into autopilot and put on a podcast and I start painting, and then suddenly it's done and I'm like, all right, I did that, now let's move on. And there's no sense of like looking back at your sketchbook and like being excited and seeing what you did the night before and excited to add to your sketchbook. Because I used to feel that way. I would wake up in the morning, like when I was like 13, 14, 15, I would wake up in the morning and I'd think about my sketchbook and I'd get excited and I'd go and like get ready, you know, brush my teeth, get dressed, get out my sketchbook, and I was so excited to just keep creating. And this is something that's hard to find when you're older. And when you've been doing something for so long, you're just used to everything. And I've improved so much since then that there's no excitement of me of wanting to reach my potential. Because I feel like a lot of that excitement as a child was me being excited about the future and the future art I wanted to make, because I knew I was going to try my best to improve and eventually be really happy with everything that I did. You're never happy with everything you do. But now I feel like I have a solid grasp on drawing and coloring and all that stuff. So that excitement and want to improve and to get to a good level is no longer there, because I feel like I've achieved it. And instead, that's been replaced with wanting to evolve my style. and to incorporate, like, it's more focused on the subject of what I'm drawing rather than like the skill that I'm drawing it with. And that's kind of the biggest difference between when I was drawing as like a young teenager and now as like a young adult. That's one of the biggest differences between that. And I'm wondering, if any of you are watching this and you do art as your career, how do you keep the passion alive in your artwork? I just feel like that's so hard to find. It just feels like I'm in autopilot and I feel very neutral about everything. It's not that I'm not happy with what I'm doing, it's that I'm not like overjoyed half the time with stuff that I do. And maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe that's just the way that art goes. Because in art school, I wasn't like so excited to draw all the time. I was just like, it was exciting to plan projects, but I just wanted to get my homework done and to get like decent portfolio pieces out of everything. It wasn't like for fun, obviously. So yeah, if you do art as a career as well, how do you like stay in love with making art? I do have days where I am, and when I think like really hard about, oh, like I want to draw this, I want to draw that, there's so many things I want to draw, then I might be able to get excited, but honestly, like I'm just at like a very neutral point. Like I don't really know if I don't draw because I'm like, I can't wait to draw. I just draw because I have to. And it's not like a negative thing. It's just what happens. I don't really know. Maybe it's because I'm distracted by all the other aspects of my career, which is I have to film videos, edit videos, I have to post Patreon, I have to manage social media, enter emails with brand deals and clients, and update my store, order products, plan out products, pack orders, pack Patreon, make sure I have stock levels for everything, that when it comes time to draw, it feels like an afterthought. And like, oh yeah, I need to draw that. And I find sometimes when I am drawing, I find myself getting into the moment and I'm like, oh, I'm actually really enjoying drawing this. And then I think in my head, like, are you really? Are you enjoying this? You probably won't enjoy it for too long. Or I don't really know. I start to like overthink what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling about drawing. And I just start to think about everything else I need to do. It's hard to explain like what exactly happens. It's like when I'm doing any task that I'm like having fun doing, I want to stop doing it because I don't want to suddenly stop having fun, even though stopping doing it stops me from having fun doing it. I don't really know. But I kind of wanted to touch on this because it's been on my mind. And I'm like, do I even like drawing anymore? And I'm having this crisis, but I'm sure every other artist can relate. If you can relate, please let me know and give me tips for how to like actually be excited about it. Because I just want to find that like urgent need to draw like I used to have as a child. But I guess everything feels more magical when you're a child, and that's just part of being an adult. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want any of these originals, they're available on Patreon, as well as the package for December patrons. If you want a sticker, a little creature, a trading card that I make every month, and a print, check that out, and then you can upgrade to grab one of these originals if you want. And I post podcasts, I post sketchbook scans, newsletters, tons of stuff on my Patreon, so check it out if you want. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in my next video.